The good news is 2026 gaming monitors are better and cheaper than ever. The bad news, there's just as many bad gaming monitors in 2026 that you need to avoid. Welcome back to PC Builder, I'm Jason. This Best Gaming Monitor 2026 buying guide will cover all the key information you need to buy the best gaming monitor for console or PC gaming in 2026, and will help you avoid those bad gaming monitors with our specific product recommendations, from the best cheap gaming monitor to the best 1440p gaming monitor and the best OLED gaming monitor in 2026. So if you're looking to buy a gaming monitor in 2026, the number one mistake to absolutely avoid is spending the wrong amount. Either people overspend on a monitor that just isn't worth it, or they end up underspending and they get a bad gaming monitor that doesn't meet their needs. So knowing what kind of gaming monitor that you want is critical. The first thing you need to decide to buy the best gaming monitor in 2026 for you is what resolution and frame rate, or FPS, that you want to play at. Now, your resolution choices in 2026 are 1080p, 1440p, and 4K. Though there are some new 5K gaming monitors coming out in the middle of 2026. While you can drop down the resolution on a monitor, it can never go above its rated resolution. So you can't do 4K on a 1440p monitor. There are some new Tandem monitors which are designed to quickly switch between higher resolution, like 4K at a lower refresh rate. Then, with the push of a button, they do a much higher refresh rate at a lower resolution, like 1080p. Here's something you absolutely need to get right. The amount of FPS that your monitor can display, it's listed as its refresh rate in hertz. A 165Hz monitor displays a maximum of 165 FPS. A 240Hz monitor displays a maximum of 240 FPS. Now, while console gamers are locked into 120Hz maximum, PC gamers, you're only limited by the monitor refresh rate and their graphics card power. So what monitor is right for your gaming PC? Well, looking at the Tech PowerUp RTX 5060 review, in their 23 game benchmark at ultra details at 1440p, the minimum for 60 FPS, it's right around an Intel Arc B580, an AMD Radeon RX 7600 XT, or NVIDIA RTX 4060. For 4K gaming, the 60 FPS minimum, it's roughly an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4070 Super or AMD Radeon RX 7900 GRE or faster graphics card. In 2026, multiple monitor setups, those are quite popular. So if you do plan to run a second monitor off of your graphics card, I'd look to a more powerful graphics card than the minimums I've outlined here. Now, these benchmarks, they're a mix of easy to run competitive titles like CS2 or Battlefield 6, along with harder to run single player games like Cyberpunk 2077 and Elden Ring. So if you mostly play competitive titles, you are going to want a higher refresh rate monitor like 240Hz or higher. If you mostly play single player titles, you want to emphasize increasing resolution and HDR features, which we're going to get to in just a second. For those looking for the best experience in both types of games, OLED gaming monitors combine the best of both worlds for those who can spend about $400 or more on their gaming monitor, or LCD tandem monitors are a great cheaper option. Don't worry, console folks, I didn't forget about you. If you're a current gen console owner, you got a PS5 Pro, PS5, Xbox Series X or S, you are locked to a maximum of 120 Hz. So virtually any new gaming monitor in 2026 is going to do that. For resolution, these consoles, they're getting a little bit older and newer games are harder on them, so I have downgraded my resolution recommendations for console. Now, if you're buying a TV for your console, 4K is probably the best as it's the dominant resolution for TVs, and I'm going to make some gaming TV recommendations later in the video. For gaming monitors, I only recommend 4K for the PS5 Pro. For the rest of them, 1440p and 1080p to maximize that performance on those older consoles. The other big question in 2026 when buying a gaming monitor, are you going to get an LCD gaming monitor, which is cheaper, or are you going to spend $400 or more to get an OLED gaming monitor? Now, LCD monitors, they're cheaper, they're still quite good, but most LCD gaming monitors, they lack the incredible HDR, the deep blacks, and the superior motion handling of OLEDs. There are some mini LED gaming monitors with pretty good HDR that kind of bridge that gap between regular LCD and OLED gaming monitors. OLED gaming monitors started just under $400 in the US, so while they massively dropped in price, they're not exactly cheap. OLED text clarity isn't quite as good as LCD gaming monitors just yet for office productivity work, and they're not quite as bright as LCD panels, especially in HDR mode. But OLED gaming monitors now start at 240Hz refresh rate, so you kind of get the best of both worlds in a high refresh rate and amazing HDR. That's why a lot of console gamers look to OLED despite not being able to fully utilize the additional refresh rate. In past years, we've mentioned OLED burn-in as a potential concern, but I'm happy to say after years of testing, in 2026 just doesn't seem like much of an issue unless you intentionally torture your monitor. In 2026, there's basically no denying. For gaming and content consumption, OLED panels are a significant jump up from regular LCD gaming monitors, as long as you can afford them, of course. If you are looking to buy an OLED gaming monitor in 2026, there's essentially 3 panel types that you should think about. On the one hand, we've got 3rd and 4th generation QD OLED panels. Those are made by Samsung. On the other hand, we have the 4th generation WOLED panels made by LG that started coming out late last year. WOLED, it's brighter, but at a cost to text clarity compared to both 3rd and 4th generation QD OLEDs. The newer 4th generation QD OLED panels should start coming out in the middle of 2026. They will offer better text clarity thanks to a new subpixel layout and a new black film coating that improves the deepness of blacks. Now, having seen all these panel types myself, the differences kind of feel minor compared to the massive jump between OLED and LCD gaming monitors, so I'm not sure I would necessarily wait for any of these new panels. It's really hard to go wrong with any of the ones on the market right now, especially if you get a good deal. All right, let's talk about whether or not you should use your DisplayPort output versus the HDMI output. Now, virtually every gaming monitor is going to come with both an HDMI as well as DisplayPort cable connection, so which one should you use? If you're a console gamer, you have to use HDMI because that's all you got. And if you want 120 Hz, your gaming monitor and your HDMI cable need to be at least HDMI 2.0 rated for 1440p and HDMI 2.1 for 4K. PC gamers generally want to use DisplayPort 1.4, which does allow for lossless compression and extremely high frame rates at 1440p and 4K. I'll talk more about why DisplayPort 1.4 is fine even for 4K 240Hz when we get to the recommendations for those monitors. DisplayPort is also key to ensure that if you have an NVIDIA GPU, it correctly utilizes the variable refresh rate on your monitor, which will likely be the AMD FreeSync version. In terms of AMD FreeSync versus NVIDIA G-Sync, these technologies prevent screen tearing. But the dominant technology found in gaming monitors is FreeSync, though this is often listed as G-Sync compatible. Again, the good news is, as long as you use that DisplayPort cable, you should be just fine. Another thing to consider is monitor aspect ratios, and there's 3 main ones in 2026. Widescreen, ultrawide, and super ultrawide. Widescreen, it's the most mainstream aspect ratio at 16:9, meaning for every 16 pixels in width, there's 9 pixels in height. Ultrawide gaming monitors are 21:9 or 21 pixels wide for every 9 pixels in height. And super ultrawide gaming monitors, like the Samsung Odyssey G9 OLED, are 32:9. Now, the consoles only really support widescreen well, so ultrawide and super ultrawide, those are really just for PC gamers. All right, let's jump into the recommendations for best gaming monitor 2026. All of them are listed down in the video description. They're based on current US pricing and availability at the time of recording. As new models launch, of course, we're gonna evaluate that one and we're gonna keep updating that list as we go. So check out those links for current pricing and availability in your region. If it's got a fire emoji in front of it, that means it's a really good deal. 2 fire emojis means absolutely insane. Buy it now. All right, let's jump into the best cheap gaming monitor 2026 recommendations here. Check the links in the video description. This is the one category where things just rotate all the time with sales and things. You're looking to spend about $100. We're looking for a 1080p or full HD gaming monitor. We're looking for good ones though. There's a ton of garbage ones out there, so just avoid those. Let's start off with what has been my top recommendation for about a year and a half now. It's a Pixio PX 248 Prime V2, 1080p, 24-inch, so it's got that better pixel density than some of the 27-inch do at 1080p, and 180 Hz refresh rate, and this is a flat IPS panel. Drawbacks include that stand. It's just basically a piece of plastic on there. There's no height or swivel on it. It's just tilt, so you may need to put it on a box or a monitor arm. About $25 monitor arm would be pretty good for it. And then in terms of the rest of the monitor, it just has 1 DisplayPort and 2 HDMI. There's no USB hub or anything great, but for $99, this will definitely get you into gaming. For those of you looking for something a little bit bigger in terms of 27-inch and possibly faster in terms of the refresh rate, I really like the AOC C27G4ZH. It's a 27-inch. Now this is curved and it's VA, so you're gonna get a little bit of that VA dark smearing. Not too bad on this particular panel, but a couple of good things about it. 280 Hz refresh rate if you're using that DisplayPort cable, which you should be if you're using a PC. Obviously, console folks are locked to 120. And it's got a fully functional stand on it. It's got height, it's got swivel, it's got tilt on it. 2 thumbs up there. $129, it's not bad. It's only about as much as you're gonna spend for a monitor arm for the other monitor. All right, then moving really quickly over to the best 1080p esports gaming monitor 2026. I got 2 picks, both of them by ASUS here. I love the ASUS TUF Gaming 24-inch VG249 QML5A. What I like about this one, it's flat, it's IPS, it's 24-inch. You're going to get that higher pixel density because it's only 24-inch, and it's a great gaming monitor. It does have height, tilt, and swivel in terms of the adjustments on the stand. It's basically a follow-up to the gaming monitor I recommended forever that I said was the best 1080p esports gaming monitor. If you want something a little bit bigger format, like a 27-inch instead, I like the ASUS ROG Strix. This is a 380 hertz XG279 CNS. Again, flat, IPS, it's got a great stand with height, tilt, and swivel on it. Even has USB-C connectivity for some reason. 249 is not bad, but remember, you are now in 240 hertz 1440p land as well. Let's jump to the best budget 1440p gaming monitors of 2026. I've got some really good recommendations here. Not that much change from late last year, but a couple of things have moved around, so let's talk about that. My number one cheap 1440p gaming monitor has not changed. That is the ASRock PG27QFT2A. The good news on this one is they were selling the one without the height, tilt, or swivel stand on it. They now have brought this one back. It's got a great stand on it, height, tilt, and swivel. This is a phenomenal 27-inch, 180 hertz 1440p flat IPS panel, and ASRock just sells these things for insanely cheap because they're not a big name in the gaming monitor. I still think they're trying to buy kind of name recognition by selling what is essentially a really good gaming monitor ultra cheap. Not a lot to say about it. It's only really available at Newegg. Was available at Amazon for a little while, so if you can't pick it up there, I'll give you another alternative, but this would be one of my top picks if you don't have much to spend. Over at Amazon, we've got a very similar panel. This is the KTC H27 T22S. Overall, flat IPS, very similar to the ASRock monitor that we just looked at, except the stand. The stand is not quite as good. It's just tilt on this, no height or swivel adjustment on it. $159 though, not a bad price. And of course, I will link a monitor arm down in the video description that you can grab instead. Some other great picks for the best budget 1440p gaming monitor. I love the Acer Nitro XV271U. Now, this is the M3 version. There's a couple different versions of this gaming monitor. You want the 180 hertz version. Anything higher and the panel is pushed too far and you get a lot of ghosting on the 300 hertz versions, for instance, I'd stick with this. $179. This is just kind of a fan favorite. Great stand on this thing. The monitor itself is very nice. It's flat, IPS, 180 hertz. Color is pretty accurate. The only thing I will say in terms of the downsides of this particular gaming monitor, doesn't get quite as bright as other LCD gaming monitors. I believe it's like 250-ish nits is where it caps out, but it's still very good, especially if you play in mostly a dark environment. $179 typically sells for this price, and it's really good value. I just wanted to mention two other monitors that are typically selling below $200 US, but for whatever reason at the time of filming, the price is a little redonkulous, but I'm gonna mention them because again, I expect these prices to come back into reality, and they're better than the Acer that I just showed you, but they're not better than the mid-range panels that I'm gonna show you next. First one is the ASUS ROG Strix XG27 ACS. This is your basic flat IPS 180 hertz. ASUS has done a really good job with this particular panel, really good color accuracy, low latency, not a lot of ghosting on it. I like this one a lot, though I would not buy it for more than like $200 for sure. And then the other panel I wanted to mention, probably slightly superior, is the Alienware AW2725DM. Again, often sells for like $210, $220. I would look to possibly pick it up there, but more likely under $200 US. In addition to it just having a really good construction to it, very similar in terms of its performance to the previous panel. Also just has a USB hub. I think this one is just a slightly superior product. I'd pay maybe 10 or 15 bucks more for it. All right, let's jump into the best mid-range 1440p gaming monitors. This is LCD still. We'll get to 240 hertz and we'll get to OLED next. But if you're looking for something with some HDR capabilities to it, mini LED monitors are the way to go if you can't jump all the way up to OLEDs, which we will get to. And the top two here, both by AOC, the Q27G3XMN, that's the older version, but with a better stand. And then we've got the Q27G40XMN. Obviously this one's cheaper, but with a kind of crummy stand, no USB hub or anything to it, but the panel is slightly better, and you can always, of course, buy a monitor arm for like $25 or $30 to it. Both of these, I'm just going to talk about them together. Incredible HDR for an LCD gaming monitor. Again, all those local dimming zones. These are VA panels, but the color on them is very good. You don't get a lot of that black smearing that you often associate with VA panels. Overall, especially with the amount of HDR that you can actually get out of these for like $230, these are tough to beat. All right, let's jump into crowd favorite here. This is the best 1440p 240 hertz gaming monitors 2026, and obviously higher refresh rate as well. These are LCD We will talk about OLED in a moment. Do not overspend on these monitors. If you can jump up to OLED, which start around $360, you can see about $140 difference here. But let's jump into these. So if you're not looking for like an HDR mini LED experience that we just showed you, you want higher refresh rates instead, but you can't afford like $400 or $360, an OLED one, the monitors I would focus on here, I like the AOC CQ27 G4ZH. This is a curved VA panel, not flat IPS, but it's a really, really good curved VA panel, and it is a 300 hertz gaming monitor, which is really, really nice. It comes with a great stand to it. Not a lot of other kind of no USB hub or anything exciting to it, but that's kind of the direction that most monitors are going now. They're really getting commodified. $240. I've seen this go down to about $220. $240 is right about where I would look to buy this. Now, let me give you the flat IPS ones, and I will say these are becoming fewer and further between because I think that a lot of gaming monitor companies are seeing the handwriting on the wall that OLED is going to push down eventually into this price point. And they're not looking to introduce a lot of these models. So we're mostly looking at older models that you can still get. Number one, Alienware AW2723DF. This is a fantastic 27-inch 1440p 280 hertz. And then the other one is the LG 27GR83Q-B. This is the one I typically recommend, but this does have a lot of extras, including a USB hub to it. It's got a phenomenal stand to it. Here's the big sticking point. I would not buy either one of these at their current price. At $348, no, I would not buy that. I would not buy this at $340. I'd get a QD OLED 240 hertz instead. I would look to buy either one of these panels at $299 or lower in terms of the price. At that price, honestly, they're both phenomenal gaming monitors. I probably lean slightly towards the LG, but the Alienware has slightly higher refresh rate. You really can't go wrong either way. All right, let's jump into the best 1440p OLED gaming monitor 2026 discussion here. And what do you get with OLED that you don't get with other LCD panels? You get incredible HDR, instantaneous response times. You get really, really deep blacks because you can turn off the individual pixels. Just a phenomenal gaming monitor. And look at the price on these things, $359. Remember when these 27-inch first came out a couple years ago, they were $1,000 and they sold out instantly at that price. $359 now. Right now at the time of filming, we basically have the 3rd generation QD OLED panels out. I think they're phenomenal. I think you should buy one. The 4th gen should be coming probably the middle to latter part of 2026. When they do, they typically tend to land at an overpriced price point. Then you have to wait a couple months for them to finally lower the price to something competitive. We also have 4th generation WOLED panels out right now. We'll go through that one. I think those are also overpriced in the current market. Let me give you my top picks. All right, the best cheap 1440p OLED gaming monitor in 2026 is this, the AOC Q27 GAZD, and it's $359, which is insane. Now, this particular monitor has kind of a sister monitor. Look at that. This one's $420, looks identical. The only difference is this is the G4ZD, the other one is the GAZD. And between the two of them, they use the exact same panel. It's just slight differences on the monitor. So for instance, this one, it's got a height, tilt, and swivel stand on it. The other one's just a plastic stick, basically. I'd recommend getting a $25 monitor arm for it. And this one also has a USB hub, whereas the original $359 does not have a USB hub to it. Those are really the only differences. I would probably grab this one and then just grab a nice monitor arm for it, would be my preference. If you're looking for something cheap, you're going to get incredible HDR, you're going to get incredible response times. And again, especially if you're looking for either esports or single player titles, that's the flexibility of OLED. I would pick one of these up. Checking in on that 4th gen WOLED panel, that is a Gigabyte MO27Q28G. Just want to show you, it is available in the US now. It's $599. I think it's overpriced for what it is. It's almost double the price. But what do you get for this? The 4th generation WOLED panel. It's brighter than the QD OLEDs. Text clarity, not quite as good. Slight bump on the refresh rate to 280 hertz, although we are seeing some 280 hertz QD OLED panels as well. And then it's got pretty good packaging from Gigabyte on this. The stand on it has height, tilt, and swivel. It's a little bit more premium with the KVM switches. You can use the same keyboard and mouse with multiple devices on it. I really like that. And then, of course, it's got a full USB hub as well. $599. You can check the link down in the video description. I expect the price on this to eventually come down to something closer to sanity with other QD OLEDs. Here's the best 1440p 360 Hz OLED gaming monitor 2026, at least at the time of filming. That is the Alienware AW2725DF. This is a 27-inch 360 Hz 3rd gen QD OLED panel, and this is one of the more premium ones out there. $599 right now, has gotten down to $549 like around Black Friday sale, so it's still pretty well priced. The only thing I'm going to say about these 360Hz 3rd gen QD OLED panels that's negative on them, because this is an overall phenomenal one, is that I think a lot of them have sold through completely because they're waiting for the 4th gen panels to come out that are also going to be 360Hz. Those should come kind of mid to latter part of 2026. Again, I expect the pricing to be significantly higher. I'm not sure it's going to be worth it. If you can pick one of these up right now, that would be my focus. This has a full USB hub to it. It's got an amazing monitor stand. Alienware just does a really premium job with its gaming monitors. This is the one that I would pick up at least in the early to mid part of 2026. If you're looking to compare and contrast this versus like the 240Hz QD OLED 3rd generation panels, it's basically the refresh rate. That's what you're getting. You're getting an additional 120 Hz refresh rate because they have the same HDR goodness. You're also getting a slightly upgraded package that Alienware puts on this with the USB hub and all of those kind of nice things to have, but you can decide whether or not that's worth the price point. All right, let me just quickly show you the best 1440p 500 Hz OLED gaming monitor in 2026. That's a Samsung Odyssey G6, specifically the G60SF. This is a phenomenal 1440p gaming monitor for those of you who want to push the extreme in esports. Make sure you have a GPU, by the way, that's going to be able to power this thing, because the 500 Hz at 1440p is pretty strong. But for those of you looking for the best, this Samsung panel actually gets quite a bit brighter than 3rd gen QD OLEDs. I believe it's like 20% brighter. So it is great. And particularly in HDR content, it gets about 20% brighter. So you can check that out. And this monitor has all the premium features to it. Obviously, you're going to pay a much higher price tag, but for those of you looking for the absolute best in esports, at least in the early to middle part of 2026, this is the one to pick up. All right, let's jump into the best 1440p OLED ultra-wide gaming monitors out there. Honestly, there are some 360Hz panels coming that are going to be later this year. Should you wait for them, you can decide. They looked really nice at CES, but I will say the price discounts I'm seeing right now on the older generation panels are really hard to pass up. Alienware AW3423DWF. This is the monitor that kicked off the OLED gaming monitor craze. It is still a phenomenal QD OLED gaming monitor. 165 Hz refresh rate, and it's got a lot of premium features on it. But for $499, that is just music to my ears, even though it's 165 Hz. If you're not looking for that super high refresh rate, this is one to pick up. But if you do want a higher refresh rate, you could pick up the Alienware 240 Hz version of it. It's basically the same monitor, slightly different design on it. They re-released it with a updated 240 Hz QD OLED gaming monitor panel on it. $799. It is a little bit eye-watering, but honestly, there's nothing really else out there like it, at least right now. But before you jump into that 240 Hz 1440p ultra-wide for $799, maybe spend $100 more on the 49-inch super ultra-wide Samsung Odyssey G93 SC. Now, I will say this one typically sells for more like $1,000. This might be just a super limited time deal. You might not see it come back, but I would pick this one up right now at the super ultra wide if you're looking for that really immersive experience, and it's got 240 Hz as well. It's just really hard to turn down. Let's jump into 4K gaming monitors. We're going to start at LCD gaming monitors. They start around $300 US and they go up to about $450. What are these? Well, there's not a lot of room left in the gaming monitor market for 4K LCD only because OLED's in there and you got high refresh rate, 1440p. So what these are 4K 160 to 180 Hz-ish monitors. You push a button and they turn into a 1080p 320 or 360 Hz display. So that they basically go back and forth. Kind of like if you want to work at 4K, maybe do video editing and things like that, then jump into esports title, or maybe you want to game at a higher resolution and then every now and then, play like CS2 or something like that. So there's a couple here I'm going to link down in the video description. Honestly, I would probably just buy the cheaper of either the Gigabyte M27UP, $329. These also all come with full USB hubs, the KVM switches. I like that a lot. LG's got one here that's slightly higher refresh rate, 180 Hz at 4K or 360 Hz at 1080p. And then Asus has the best reviewed one here. However, $450-ish seems kind of steep for this monitor, but it is the best reviewed of the three. All right, let's jump into the best 4K OLED gaming monitor 2026 recommendations. And you can definitely see that there's a little bit of a gap. We've seen a lot of the 4K OLED gaming monitors from third generation QD OLED have sold through, and at the beginning to kind of early part of 2026, what's left on the market is really good value, but they're still trying to clear the way, obviously, for those fourth gen QD OLED and WOLED panels that are likely going to come mid to late this year. But this is the time to me that you pick up the best value ones, because you can buy the older stuff at a huge discount and the newer stuff will be very expensive. Let's jump into the AOC AG326UD. So we're looking at 32 inches, 165 hertz, 4K OLED gaming monitor. This is if you want a phenomenal panel, basically. It's not that much more, honestly, than LCD gaming monitors were at 4K not too long ago with the same refresh rate. Actually, they were 144 hertz. So this is an absolute gem that you can pick up. These originally came in around $900 into the market. It's crazy to see them down at $700 basically. And this is a more premium panel because, again, the newer panels are going to be a little bit more cut down. They're removing features that this one has, like the USB hub on it, the full height, tilt, and swivel stand to it. So you have an opportunity to pick up a really good panel. All right, moving over to 240 hertz 4K OLED gaming monitors in 2026. And these are 32-inch versions. There are also 27-inch versions we'll go over in just a second. But the best value I'm finding right now is the Samsung G80 SD. This is a great panel because it's $729, and the remaining 4K 240 hertz, I'm finding at least $800, but more like $900 or $1,000. Now, some of them might have slightly better features, like they have the Dolby Vision on them, but I think if you're just primarily out looking for a gaming monitor and you want that 32-inch 4K 240 hertz OLED, this is an incredible one to pick up. Again, premium stand on it. It's got height, tilt, and swivel on it. It's got the full USB hub to it. It's a great performer. Good factory calibration on it. $729, I would not pass this up. Now, after that Samsung monitor, unfortunately, they jump up in price pretty quickly to about $800. There's only a couple of these left. This is the MAG 321 UPX QD OLED, and then they go to $1,000 very, very quickly. I will check those links in the video description. I will keep looking for the best deal out there. I do want to briefly address whether or not you need DisplayPort 2.1, because I think some people still believe for 240 hertz 4K, you do. You actually don't. DisplayPort 1.4a is fine. It's going to use display stream compression, which is a lossless technology. Repeat after me, lossless. That means using it or not using it, you get the same image quality to it. Don't hesitate to use it. The one reason that the new DisplayPort 2.1 isn't quite as good, although the cables are getting better, number one, the cables are expensive. Number two, they tend to be a little bit shorter. Now, they were super short. They've got new cables coming out. They're a little bit longer. But to me, just go with DisplayPort 1.4, save yourself the hassle, and save a lot of money. If you are looking for that 27-inch 4K gaming monitor that's 240 hertz or higher refresh rate, they did come out, but they're still a little expensive compared to that Samsung deal. However, compared to the other 32-inch that are closer to $1,000, this is still a pretty good deal. So this is the Alienware AW2725Q. It's basically very similar to the other 32-inch panels, except it's 27-inch. That's kind of really its claim to fame, but Alienware does a really good job on these monitors. The build quality is exceptional on them. It has a full height, tilt, and swivel on the stand. In terms of the USB ports, it's got a full USB hub to it. I really do like this one. Let's jump into the best 4K gaming TVs of 2026. I'm going to give you two options here. The first is the mini LED that has some HDR capability, and then the second one, of course, is going to be an OLED that's insane value. I'm not going to go any super high-end stuff. You can always find a higher-end OLED gaming TV out there for a lot of money, but if you're just looking for something for like a game room, even replace your current TV, let's start off with the mini LED here. This is the TCL. The lineup here is called the QM6K. The 55 in front is the size. This is a 55-inch version of the QM6K. This has a lot of local dimming zones to it, so it's got decent, not phenomenal HDR to it, but pretty good. And then it comes 120 hertz base, and it has a game mode for 144 hertz. You can get larger versions of this. 448 for a 55-inch is pretty good, though. If you're looking for OLED, I like the value of the B5, the LG B5 OLED. Yes, there are better OLED TVs out there, but we're going to try and stick with something with value because you can spend thousands and thousands. But look at this, 48 inches for $599. So you're getting incredible HDR goodness in this. This is a 120 hertz refresh rate. Again, that's fine for all you console folks out there. Fine for even a lot of PC gamers that are looking for a bigger single player experience. I used to do World of Warcraft raids on an LG C3 OLED, so not that dissimilar. And then in terms of the pricing here, $599 will get you the 48-inch. I believe the 55-inch is something like, it's $899, and then the 65-inch is less than $1,000. Less than $1,000 for an incredible OLED gaming TV, not bad. Remember, those best gaming monitor 2026 deals are linked down in the video description. Check out those links for current pricing and availability in your region and the best deals we're finding right now. If you got value out of this video, please give it a like. It makes a huge difference to the channel. Of course, subscribe for more cool PC content, and we'll catch you on the next one.